everyone, this is your educator Priyanka Thakur. I'm teaching you life sciences and welcome you all on our YouTube channel Gurmantra Shiksha Ka Granth. So today in this video I'm going to teach you about gibberellin. As you know that I'm teaching you phytohormones. This is the part 2. I have already covered auxin in the part 1 of this phytohormone series. So today I will be covering biosynthesis, transport and functions of gibberellin. In part 1 I have covered everything about auxin except the signaling pathway. I'll be taking a separate lecture on the signaling pathway, and that will include the signaling pathway of all the phytohormones. Okay, so let's start with a question. And here is a question. Do read the question carefully and then answer in the comment section if you can. Okay, time's up. Fine. During the development of ambient plant, pin proteins are involved in their. Here are your four option, and option A is the correct one. Establishment of auxin gradient. If you don't know the answer, then you should watch the previous lecture in which I have covered all these things. So let's start with our today's topic, which is gibberellin. Remember, everything that I'm going to teach you, it includes a lot of I mean a number of MCQs. Okay, so these MCQs can be asked in any of the examination, like any of the examination. Fine. So please listen to each and everything very carefully, and do not get confused anywhere. If you are getting confused anywhere, you can comment in the comment section. I will be resolving all your doubts. I tell you this thing in each and every of my lecture. Okay, so gibberellins are tetracyclic diterpenoids. Do remember this thing that they are tetracyclic diterpenoids. Many a times we get confused. I like, we read tetracyclic diterpenoids, and when attempting the question, we write of tetraterpenoids. We do the question like this. Okay, so remember it's tetracyclic diterpenoids and not dicyclic tetraterpenoids. Okay, fine. They are made up of four isoprenoid units with end gibberellin. This is the structure of end gibberellin, which is having 20 carbons. And when we say biologically active gibberellin possess a carboxyl group at the seventh carbon position. Okay, fine. So now you remember gibberellins are tetracyclic diterpenoids which have four isoprenoid units and gibberellin. Fine. They were originally discovered by a Japanese scientist Kurosawa when Kurosawa along with the co-workers was studying the fungal rice disease, actually a disease which is caused by a fungus Gibberella fusicori, which is Bacani disease or foolish seedling disease. So Kurosawa discovered gibberellin during 1930s. In fact, the West countries uh, didn't know about this thing. They didn't know about gibberellin because uh, this disease was particularly seen in Japan. So Kurosawa was studying the mechanism of the disease. Okay, how this disease is being caused. So that's how she come to know about the gibberellin. Fine, but I think that was the time of World War II, and the sources of communications was not pretty enough. That's why West countries couldn't find this gibberellin. But Kurosawa was the first one to discover gibberellin, and gibberellin causes foolish seedling disease in rice because it has the property of internode elongation. You know that the two nodes in between the area between two nodes is called internode. So gibberellin is responsible for the internodal elongation. That's why it causes fully settling disease. What happens in fully settling disease? The plant get elongated, but it doesn't have sufficient seeds. Okay, so Yabuta and Sumuki was the first one to isolate the gibberellin in 1935. They isolated gibberellin from the fungal strain Gibberella fusicori. Okay, it's not fusicori, it's fusicori. So fusicori is now known as Fusarium fusicori. So remember, Kurosawa was the first one to discover gibberellin, but Yabuta and Sumuki isolated gibberellin in 1935. It was Yabuta who named it as gibberellin. Currently, about 136 gibberellin has been identified in different plants, bacteria, and fungi. So these gibberellins are named in order of their discovery, like gibberellic acid 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, which gibberellic acid was discovered when? If it was gibberellic acid 1 which was discovered first, that's why it is known as gibberellic acid 1, because they are named in order of their discovery. So gibberellic acids, they can be of carbon 19, they can have 19 carbon atoms, or they can have 20 carbon atoms. Okay, generally carbon 19 gibberellic acids, the gibberellic acid which are having 19 carbon atoms, these are more biologically active compared to the gibberellic acid which have 20 carbon atoms. So why they are more biologically active? Because most of the active gibberellin possess a carboxyl group at carbon 7. So remember all these things about gibberellin. What exactly are gibberellin? These are tetracyclic diterpenoids having 4 isoprenoid units with and gibberellin. And Kurosawa was the first one to discover gibberellin while studying the Bakane disease of foolish or foolish settling disease during 1930s. And Yabuta and Shumuki isolated the gibberellin from Gibberella fusicori, now known as Fusarium fusicori, right? Okay, so let's talk about biosynthesis of gibberellin now. These gibberellins are mainly synthesized in the apical tissue, more appropriately in shoot apical meristem, also synthesized in root apical meristem, because the presence of gibberellic acid in the root exudates shows that gibberellic acid is also synthesized in root as well, but it is mainly synthesized in the shoot apical meristem and young leaves. The highest level of gibberellin, you can see the highest level of gibberellin in immature seeds and developing fruits. Remember this thing, the highest level of gibberellins occurs in the immature seeds and the developing fruits. Okay, fine, we know that they are going to be synthesized by the condensation of 4 isoprenoid unit. 4 isoprenoid units, fine. Okay, but basic biological isoprene unit is isopentenyl pyrophosphate. Now you must ask me that if you're saying that they are synthesized by the condensation of 4 isoprenoid units, then why don't you say these are diterpenoids and not tetraterpenoids? Listen, this one isoprenoid unit, isopentenyl pyrophosphate, is known as hemiterpene and not a monoterpene. Isopentenyl pyrophosphate is a hemiterpene. That's why when 4 of these get condensed together, then they form a diterpene instead of a tetraterpene. Get it? So isopentenyl pyrophosphate is the basic biological isoprene unit, which will condense to form geranyl phosphate. Okay, geranyl pyrophosphate or diphosphate, I can say. Okay, pyrophosphate or diphosphate. Fine. So geranyl pyrophosphate, it acts as the biosynthetic precursor of gibberellins. Okay, so gibberellins are synthesized by what? Geranyl pyrophosphate. Fine. So geranyl pyrophosphate is formed by the condensation of isopentyl pyrophosphate. Do you remember the while telling you about the biosynthesis of oxen, I tell you that all the pathways starts from their chorismate. Okay, chorismate will result in the formation of tryptophan, and then tryptophan will result in the formation of indole acetic acid. So we say that the precursor of indole acetic acid is tryptophan. Just like that, geranyl diphosphate is known as precursor of all the gibberellins, but this is formed by the condensation of 4 isoprenoid units. Clear? Gibberellin is this process occur in the proplastid. Remember, gibberellins are synthesized in 3-cell compartment. Geranyl diphosphate or pyrophosphate is not a gibberellin yet. Okay, but it is not synthesized in plastid, it is synthesized in proplastid. Geranyl diphosphate or pyrophosphate is synthesized in proplastid, but the formation of or synthesis of gibberellins takes place in plastid, endoplasmic reticulum and cytosol. You get my point? Synthesis of gibberellin takes place where? In plastid, endoplasmic reticulum and cytosol. These are the 3 compartments which are responsible for the synthesis of plastid, endoplasmic reticulum and these are the 3 compartments: cellular compartment, plastid, endoplasmic reticulum and cytosol, which are responsible for the synthesis of gibberellins. Clear? Where geranyl diphosphate is synthesized? It is synthesized in the proplastids and not in the plastids. Got my point? Okay. Now look at this pathway. Isopentenyl pyrophosphate, which is a 5-carbon compound, also known as hemiterpene. Okay, it get isomerized into dimethyl allyl diphosphate, dimethyl DMA allyl diphosphate. Okay, PP. So DMAPP is dimethyl allyl diphosphate. So isopentenyl pyrophosphate is just getting isomerized into dimethyl allyl diphosphate. So it will also be of 5 carbon. Then another isopentenyl pyrophosphate fused to it and form the geranyl diphosphate. Now geranyl diphosphate is of 10 carbon and terpenes make up a monoterpene. Okay, then another isopentenyl pyrophosphate will be added, and now 10 plus 5 become 15 and farnesyl diphosphate will be formed. This is a sesquiterpene. Now sesquiterpene has 15 carbon atoms, and after that another isopentyl pyrophosphate will be added, which result in the geranyl diphosphate, which will now have 20 carbon atoms. This is sesquiterpene. This is we call diterpene now. So 4 isoprenoid units condense to form geranyl diphosphate, which act as a precursor of all the gibberellins. Okay, so you remember all these things now. Isopentenyl pyrophosphate, then dimethyl allyl diphosphate. One isopentenyl pyrophosphate will be added. Geranyl diphosphate will be of 10 carbons. Farnesyl diphosphate will be of 15 carbons. Geranyl diphosphate is of 20 carbons. So remember this thing that sesquiterpene is of 15 carbon. Monoterpene is of 10 carbon and diterpene is of 20 carbons. A number of times question is asked on the number of carbon atom present in these compounds. Okay, so is it clear to you now? Fine. So this is geranyl diphosphate in plastid now, which will be, this is the first step, endoplasmic reticulum. It will be here will be the second step of biosynthesis of the gibberellins, and in cytosol takes place the third step. Okay, so in plastid, geranyl diphosphate, which is a 20 carbon compound, is converted into endcorine, which get transported to the endoplasmic reticulum. So you have to remember that in plastid, geranyl diphosphate, which is a 20 carbon compound, which is a diterpene, is converted into endcorine. This is what happens in the first step of biosynthesis of gibberellin in plastid. And this endcorine is then transported to the endoplasmic reticulum, where oxidation of endcorine occurs into gibberellic acid 12. Now, do not get confused that gibberellic acid 1 should be present here. It should be gibberellic acid 1 and not 12. Listen, gibberellic acid 12 was discovered after gibberellic acid 1. Okay, as I told you, Gibberellic acid are named on the basis of their discovery. About the biosynthetic pathway, we got to know about it. It takes a lot of time to know about the biosynthetic pathway of gibberellic acid. Okay, so gibberellic acid 12 was discovered later than the gibberellic acid 1. That's why it's gibberellic acid 12 here and not gibberellic acid 1. Got it? So N-choline is oxidized into gibberellic acid 12. Before gibberellic acid 12, it is gibberellic acid aldehyde which is formed and which then get converted into gibberellic acid 12. So conversion of N-choline into gibberellic acid 12 takes place in endoplasmic reticulum. Even in endoplasmic reticulum, the conversion of gibberellic acid 12 occurs into gibberellic acid 53. Then both of these gibberellic acid 12 and gibberellic acid 53 can enter the cytosol and then start the synthesis of other gibberellic acids. See, when gibberellic acid is formed in the endoplasmic reticulum, we say this is the first gibberellin. So first gibberellin which is formed during the biosynthesis of gibberellic acid is gibberellic acid 12, and this gibberellic acid 12 will result in the formation of all other gibberellins now. Okay, so gibberellic acid 12 is converted into gibberellic acid 53 when its carbon 13 is added with a hydroxyl group. Okay, carbon 13, there occur the hydroxylation of carbon 13 of gibberellic acid 12, and after the hydroxyl group is added on the carbon 13 of gibberellic acid 12, it gets converted into gibberellic acid 53. Exactly this reaction can take place in the endoplasmic reticulum, and then both of these gibberellic acid 12 and gibberellic acid 53 enters the cytosol where they gets converted into gibberellic acid 1, gibberellic acid 4 and other gibberellic acid as well. Clear? See, gibberellic acid 12 can get converted into gibberellic acid 4. Gibberellic acid 53 can be converted into gibberellic acid 1. How it will happen? Remember, all this or not all these, gibberellic acid 12 and gibberellic acid 53. These are the gibberellic acids having 20 carbon atoms. Gibberellic acid 12 and gibberellic acid 53 are the gibberellic acids having 20 carbon atoms. Now, one carbon atom will be removed from these in the form of carbon dioxide, and they will be converted into carbon 19 gibberellic acids, which are more active forms than the gibberellic acids which are having the 20 carbon atoms. Clear? So, there will be oxidation elimination of carbon 20 in the form of carbon dioxide, and this this oxidative elimination of carbon 20 in the form of carbon dioxide is catalyzed by a GA20 oxidase. Generally, gibberellic acid oxidase catalyze the oxidative elimination of carbon 20 in the form of carbon dioxide, and then gibberellic acid 19 arises. Gibberellic acid 12, when gibberellic acid oxidase act on gibberellic acid 12, it may result in the formation of gibberellic acid 4. Okay, and hydroxylation at the carbon 13 of gibberellic acid 12 result in the formation of gibberellic acid 53. Then gibberellic acid gibberellic acid 1 is not directly formed from gibberellic acid 53. A number of steps takes place in between these two steps. Like, there will be the formation of gibberellic acid 44 and gibberellic acid 20, and the gibberellic acid 20 oxidase will be responsible for the formation of gibberellic acid 44 and gibberellic acid 20 as well. But gibberellic acid 1 is produced from gibberellic acid 20. Gibberellic acid 20 is the precursor of gibberellic acid 1, and there plays the reaction, there plays our gibberellic acid 3 oxidase plays its role while the conversion of gibberellic acid 20 into gibberellic acid 1. Clear? Gibberellic acid 20 oxidase will be converting gibberellic acid 53 into gibberellic acid 44 and gibberellic acid 20. But the conversion of gibberellic acid 20 into gibberellic acid 1 is catalyzed by a gibberellic acid 3 oxidase. Remember this point. Clear? And how gibberellic acid is 4 is formed? It is formed when gibberellic acid oxidase act on the gibberellic acid 12. Clear? And how gibberellic acid 53 is formed? It is formed when the carbon 13 of uh, gibberellic acid 12 is hydroxylated and it gets converted into gibberellic acid 53. Clear? So question can be asked from any of these things. Like they can ask you endcorine is formed in plastid, it get transported to endoplasmic reticulum. Gibberellic acid 12 is produced in endoplasmic reticulum. Gibberellic acid 1 is produced in cytosol. Gibberellic acid 4 is produced in cytosol. 53 can be produced in endoplasmic reticulum. Then they move into the cytosol. Okay. So there are some important enzymes responsible for the gibberellin biosynthesis. This gibberellin acid 20 oxidase, I just told you that it will catalyze all the reaction which will involve the successive oxidation steps of carbon 20. Okay, this gibberellic acid 20 oxidase will be responsible for the oxidation of carbon 20. Okay, and this oxidation takes place in between gibberellic acid 53 and gibberellic acid 20. In between all the oxidation of carbon 20 will be catalyzed by gibberellic acid 20 oxidase in between gibberellic acid 53 and gibberellic acid 20. But after gibberellic acid 20, it will be gibberellic acid 3 oxidase that will catalyzing the that will be catalyzing the what formation of gibberellic acid 1. Remember this thing, okay? Do not forget that gibberellic in between gibberellic acid 53 and gibberellic acid 20, it is gibberellic acid 20 oxidase which catalyzes the oxidation of carbon 20. Okay, which include the removal of carbon 20 is carbon dioxide. But gibberellic acid 3 oxidase function as 3 beta hydroxylase. It adds a hydroxyl group to the carbon 13 to form the active gibberellic acid 1. So what is the function of gibberellic acid 3 oxidase? It adds the hydroxyl group to the carbon 3 of gibberellic acid 20 and then active gibberellic acid 1 is formed. Clear? But the synthesis of gibberellic acid 1 can be inhibited by gibberellic acid 2 oxidase. This can inactivate GA, gibberellic acid 1 synthesis by catalyzing the addition of a hydroxyl group to carbon 2. Remember, gibberellic acid 1 has one hydroxyl group where on carbon 3. But gibberellic acid 2 oxidase can catalyze the addition of a hydroxyl group on the carbon 2 of gibberellic acid 1. But now after the addition of hydroxyl group on carbon 2, gibberellic acid is now converted into gibberellic acid 8. It is no more gibberellic acid 1, now it is gibberellic acid 8. That's why we say gibberellic acid 2 oxidase can inactivate the gibberellic acid 1 by catalyzing the addition of hydroxyl group to carbon 2. So now these are some inhibitors of gibberellic biosynthesis. I hope you are understanding each and everything. If you're not understanding, you can comment in the comment section. Okay, don't get confused with anything. That I'm trying to cover as much as I can. So AMO 1618, psychosil, CCC, okay, also known as CCC, phosphon D. These are the specific inhibitors of the first stage of gibberellin biosynthesis and they can act as height reducers. Okay, listen. What is the first step of gibberellin biosynthesis? First step occurs in the plastid in which geranyl phosphate diphosphate is converted into the endcorine. So MO1618 psychosil and phosphon D are going to inhibit that first stage of gibberellin biosynthesis. While paclobutrazol, commercially known as Bonjai, is the inhibitor of second stage. What happens in second stage? Endcorine is converted into gibberellic acid 12 in endoplasmic reticulum. So paclobutrazole inhibit that stage of gibberellin biosynthesis. And next is prohexadione BX112. This inhibits the third stage of biosynthesis by inhibiting the gibberellic acid 3 oxidase. This is the enzyme which is responsible for the conversion of gibberellic acid 20 into active gibberellic acid 1. Now you know that how it catalyzes this reaction. It adds an hydroxyl group to the carbon 3 of gibberellic acid 20, and now it is converted into gibberellic acid 1. But this conversion can be inhibited by prohexadione because this chemical can inhibit the gibberellic acid 3 oxidase, and this is the third stage of gibberellin biosynthesis. So these are all the inhibitors and all the enzymes which are going to play their respective roles in gibberellin biosynthesis, and each line of whatever you can see on your screen consists of a number of MCQs. Okay, fine. This is all about biosynthesis. Okay, I haven't included the transport, but remember one thing about transport, that there is no polarity in the transport of gibberellic acid. The only hormone which possesses polarity in its transport is auxin. It can be transported from up to down and down to up. Okay, so and it can be transported through phloem and xylem as well. Clear? So let's talk about its functions now. I hope it is clear to you now. Clear to you how this gibberellic acid is transported. Okay, mainly the gibberellins that are synthesized in the shoot are transported to the rest of the plant via phloem. Okay, but they can be translocated via phloem and xylem both. Remember? Do you remember that auxin can also be transported by xylem and phloem, but in shoot auxin are mainly transported by a xylem. Okay. Let's talk about the physiological effects of gibberellin now. It can promote the internodal elongation. You know that the area between two nodes is called internode. Okay, so internodal elongation definitely will result in the stem elongation. Gibberellic acid 1 is thought mainly responsible for the elongation process. Okay, stem elongation mainly depends upon gibberellic acid 1, and you know that gibberellic acid 20 is the precursor of gibberellic acid 1, and now you also know that gibberellic acid 3 oxidase is responsible for the conversion of gibberellic acid 20 into gibberellic acid 1. Okay, so if gibberellic acid 3 oxidase is lacking, that will result in the dwarfism of the plant. As we know that gibberellic acid 1 will be formed in the presence of gibberellic acid 3 oxidase, and gibberellic acid 1 is responsible for the stem elongation. If there is no gibberellic acid 3 oxidase, there will not be the formation of gibberellic acid 1, and there will be no stem elongation, and it will result in the dwarfism. Mendel studied some dwarf plant, and he saw the mutated plants which were dwarf. They were having this LE genes which developed due to mutation in the normal LE gene, which encode for gibberellic acid 3 oxidase. Now you know that which gene encodes for gibberellic acid 3 oxidase. Okay, so its application, gibberellic acid application may lead to bolting. Okay, you know rosette varieties like cabbage is a rosette varieties. Application of gibberellin acid to these rosette varieties led to bolting. What exactly is bolting? It's internodal elongation prior just before the flowering. This is we call bolting. And some flowering plant require vernalization. What is vernalization? We call cold treatment. Okay, so gibberellin acid is a good substitute of vernalization. And even the application of gibberellins can cause feminization in tassels. Tassels are found in the geomes. These are the male flowers of GMAs, but gibberellin acid application may cause your feminization. Like auxin, gibberellin also play a role in the fruit set. Where auxin fails to play its role, gibberellin acid is responsible for the fruit set. What is fruit set? Formation of fruit, initiation of formation of fruit after pollination. Okay, so in apple, fruit set is caused by gibberellin. It also induces parthenocarpy. Like auxin, gibberellic acid can also induce parthenocarpy. Gibberellin can reduce the fruit drop in citrus species. Along with this, it also causes the pollen germination and pollen tube growth. Remember all these things what I'm telling you right now, because these question could be asked in any of the entrance tests. Okay, and gibberellic acid has an important role in seed germination. This is the main hormone responsible for the seed germination. Now, how these hormones led to the germination of seed? Now, we will understand this thing in our next section. See, this is the first foliage, coleotile. Okay, shoot is covered by a protective sheath known as coleotile. This is the shoot apical meristem. This is the embryo actually. Okay, this is the embryo of monocots. Fine. For example, GMAs. Embryo synthesize the gibberellic acids. Okay, and then these gibberellic acids diffuse to the alurone layer. How? See, embryo synthesize the gibberellic acid. These gibberellic acids are released into endosperm through scutellum. This is scutellum. Okay. Then from endosperm, these gibberellin diffuse into the alurone layer. Alurone layer is a protein-rich layer. Okay. In alurone layer, what is the functioning of gibberellins? These gibberellins will induce the alurone layer cells to synthesize the hydrolytic enzyme, for example, alpha amylase. And these hydrolytic enzymes then enters from alurone. These enzymes enters the endosperm, where alpha amylase can break the starch into the smaller units like glucose. Okay, so alpha amylase, you know that it can break the starch, large macromolecule, into the small molecule. So these small molecule or endosperm solutes, okay, these are absorbed by scutellum and then transported to the growing embryo. Now embryo is getting the nourishment, so it can germinate now. Now you understand how gibberellin plays an important role in the germination of seeds or not. I hope you understand it now and you're not having any problem. So this is all about biosynthesis, transport and physiological function of gibberellic acid. This is all for today. In next lecture we will cover more hormones, phytohormones, and we'll be also covering the signaling pathway. And do not forget that you can take the subscription of Unacademy, where you can follow our Neha Tanisha ma'am. This is the detail of paid courses. You can use the referral code Neha to get the 10% off. Clear? Okay, so do not forget to subscribe to our channel and check out the description box, where you can get the links for our different platforms. Okay, that's all for today. Take care. Bye bye.